this panel, Horace's Asia meeting in Vietnam. I know we had to deal with bad weather, but that's Mother Nature, and agribusiness is also part of nature. And part of what we have to do and talk about today is how do we deal with reinventing agribusiness and how it is global today. My name is Henry Sternberg. I represent Global Transformation Platform. We focus, 2 words about myself. We are currently working in Ukraine, and we're building a platform that will allow us to have much easier use and trade with many different countries. And we are starting in Ukraine because I was born there, but I spent most of my career in the United States. And being here in Vietnam is great because, for example, Ukraine and Vietnam has a great deal of opportunities together in agro sector. Ukraine has obviously been historically known as a major agro country. And today, for example, in Ukraine, with use of technology, we can produce about 4 to 6 times more per hectare than we do today. And I would love to have very open discussion about not only the agro sector per se, but how does agro sector impact the economies as a whole, and more importantly, global economy as well. But before we do that, I'd like to go around the table, introduce our panelists. Let's start with a lady of our panel. Please speak about yourself, where you come from, what do you do?
Thank you, Henry-san. This is Tomoko Hoshino from Tokyo, Japan. Our company is Chocorebo International. Our activity is basically in Africa. We're beginning at Ghana, which is country of second producing company in the world for cacao and cacao beans, and we planted 190,000 nursery there to supporting organic farmers, cocoa farmers, to cultivate because their cacao tree was very old and reducing the harvest recently. So they need support from other sectors. So we support them to planting and reforestation on the same time, the conservation forest with the agroforestry method. And also at the same time we are supporting their promotion for the products itself and making kind of branding, the organic food in Japanese market and other market like UK and Switzerland, the European country. And also we are cooperate with the Japanese government and other sector, for example, the CSR company like IT, and for example the Toyota and AU, that is a carrier company for the mobile phone. And also we are cooperate with ANA, you know, the airline company. The company is not the industry for the industry of food industry, but they cooperate as the under the CSR of their activity.
Okay.
Then we promote the organic food, using the chocolate, like symbolize of many people like because many people like chocolate. So we promote organic food in Japan and other countries. And basically we planted a lot of trees and supporting the workshop with them for 10 years. Now we are working, seeking any partner in Asia. Thank you very much.
Sure. Tomoko, did you find this company? Did you found this company? You're the CEO of the company?
Yeah, I found it.
Yes. How many years ago?
Around 11 years ago.
11 years ago. It's never easy to start a business. Doesn't matter if you're Japan, America, Vietnam, or Ukraine, isn't it? Starting a business is hard, being an entrepreneur. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
KJ, to you now, and it's a pleasure meeting you. On your card it says you are CFO, Chief Financial Officer. of your company. So you are the numbers guy. And please talk about yourself, what you do, so
Yes.
everybody.
Yes, I'm KG, Japanese, but living in here in Vietnam 11 years. At first, I was IT person. IT.
IT.
Internet.
Yes.
Internet data center.
Okay.
Maybe situated here, around here, I don't know. But I failed to that business. After that, I worked on, I found, agriculture is very important for not only Vietnam, but also all over the world.
Yes.
Yes. And most important thing is environmental friendly. Now, I'm making good shrimp, tasty, of course tasty, but I'm making non-chemical free and antibiotic free shrimp.
Shrimp.
Shrimp. Baname shrimp. It is coming from sea. We provide shrimp 20 tons per month now.
Wow.
Yes, but I'm planning to make it 10 times as much as.
200 tons per month.
Yeah,
That's a lot of shrimp.
Yeah, he is investing. He is investor as well.
He's an investor.
He is watching me.
Well, we got to get some shrimp to Ukraine, the seafood. So,
Yes, and surprisingly, our shrimp feeding makes environment around my field very, very clean. As you know, the bacteria, this whole world is bacteria world, not human world. As you know, of course, agriculture person knows the whole world is bacteria world, not human race world. And we know a little bit about bacteria now. So I am asking to bacteria, could you help me? Could you help and make shrimp healthy and tasty?
do you have farms? There's a shrimp farms that you grow in them?
Yes,
Okay, great.
and the point is our farm, shrimp farm's water is made from enzyme. The water, I call the name of the water platinum water.
Platinum water, yeah.
Very pure, and makes the environment very clean.
Okay. So it's an organic farm.
Of
that-
course,
okay, yes.
free, chemical free, and antibiotic free is more than organic.
And how do you work with the packaging? Obviously, shrimp is one of the commodities that really, have a short lifespan in terms of on the shelf. So how do you work with the technology to packages to ship it out? Do you import, export?
Export.
Export out to how many countries today?
Yeah, not yet exporting. Just talking with
Domestic market.
Yeah, Japan, because our shrimp is frozen, all frozen, and I'm going to export to Japan, the United States, or other
Excellent.
countries. But
Well, one of the things we're going to talk about today is packaging. It's a big part of the agribusiness, packaging. How do you package so it can stay fresh? It has a longer shelf life. KJ, thank you so much for introduction. Appreciate that. Mr. Trien, Professor Trien, pleasure having you on the panel. Please, obviously, we have a professor here with us at the panel. And I understand you're from Vietnam.
Yeah.
You are, and please talk about what do you do, what do you study, what does your company do?
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Yes, my name is Yung Văn Jin. I come from Lofter Group. There are three divisions of our Lofter Group. Three divisions of business. The first one is seed. The second is agricultural input. And the third is food. In case of food, we pay more attention to the rice. And we produce rice for domestic consumption and for export. Yeah, thank
Excellent.
you.
Did you say that I missed the second part of your business is importing food?
The second
Yeah.
division, the agricultural input, like
outside-
pesticide, fertilizer.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
great.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
are you focused on the fertilizers that are organic primarily or
Yeah, both.
chemical based?
Both. Pesticide and fertilizer, both organic and inorganic, both.
Okay.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
one of the things as I'm preparing for this panel, Vietnam has a goal of to reach $40 billion in agro production and export. How is that? How are we doing with that? How is the Vietnam agro sector is growing?
You see, the recent in the past, the Vietnam pay more attention to the amount of the agricultural product, but recently we pay more attention to the quality of product, and the added value is very important. And there are three major kind of input for agriculture. Before we pay attention to rice, number one, but now the first one is the fishery. Number one is fishery.
Fishery now.
Yeah, fishery. Yeah, the second one is the fruit tree and vegetable.
Okay.
And the third one is rice.
Okay.
And we can expand the product with higher added value.
Okay.
Yes, to achieve 40 billion
Those
US
bucks,
dollars.
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So I recently I came for the meeting, Horace's Asia meeting, and I spent a week on vacation in Nghiep, the city, and I mean the seafood was so good. It was so fresh. It was so tasty.
Yeah.
And it's a very low price. In America, I would pay 4 to 5 times more for every serving of the seafood. And I think it's a great opportunity for Vietnam to export out the seafood to the world. So,
Yeah. Thank you very much for saying so. But I hope in the future, European country will import more food from Vietnam, including Ukraine. Yes.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
think there's a great opportunities. But
Yeah.
today, our goal in discussion today is to talk about how we reinvent the agro business. And what I want to start with is obviously we have a limited amount of land, limited amount of sea where we can produce. There's more and more people around the world. And I want to spend a little time, maybe starting with you, Tomoko, is about sustainability of agro production. It's a very big topic across the world, sustainability. And we talk about you guys are doing organic food, and many companies still in United States, in Ukraine, in other countries still using chemical fertilizers in order to increase the production. But that is unsustainable in my point of view. So how do you address that?
Thank you very much. I'm not farmer by myself, as you can
Sure.
see that with this kind of thing. But I know that the chemical uses some. We cannot see the long time. The chemical always reducing the nutrition in the soil. So for the when I see that for the 5 years, we can expect so much the harvest from the chemical fertilizer. But after that, the nutrition of the soil will be reduced, and
Yes.
for the long time, we cannot see so much, sustainable cultivation. So that's why we want to talk about the organically method where the agroforestry to make a diversity in the forest or nutrition, more nutritious in the soil to keep
Soil becomes more productive
yeah,
long term.
for the long view.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because short-term view, unfortunately, yes, we can use chemicals that produces growth very quickly, but then longer term, the soil becomes unsustainable, and then we actually lose production per
And also that
hectare.
is effect for the liver and
Of
to
course,
the
for everybody,
seals,
for us, for
shrimp
humans.
and any other seafood, because of that the forest nutritious for any chemical that kind of things.
Well, we see the global trend now moving away from chemical fertilizers. And one of the interesting things that I'm involved in Ukraine is working on the cellular level of a production of different cultures that allows much faster growth. It does not need really the chemical input that we used to have before, because you engineer the cell production of the crop early in the lab, and then it becomes much suitable to the soil, where whatever that soil is. And KJ, question to you is a relative. So when you are talking about shrimp farm, and I know nothing about shrimp farming because besides watching the movie Forrest Gump. Remember the old movie Forrest Gump? You know, where they did the shrimp from Bubba Shrimp. So the idea behind it in the shrimp farm, sustainable growth of shrimp. How do you approach that? Because you're not using the soil, you're using water, you're developing labs that are producing high volume of shrimp in this particular case. How do you approach sustainable growth in your industry, part of the industry?
I'd like to reply you. Before replying, the shrimp farming is told so bad to the environment.
Yes.
Because they cut the trees of the mangrove and make shrimp pond, and after 3 years or 4 years, the shrimp pond is ruined and contaminated, and throw away, and cut the mangrove, another mangrove trees, and cut and make. That is bad, but the influence to the environment.
To ecosystem. Shrimp is a big part of the ecosystem in the sea world, and so how do you deal with it?
Yes, and first shrimp are living in water, and make the water pure, and make the water easy for living for shrimp is important. We made the water using enzyme, and ask for the help of bacteria, and make the water pure.
So you insert the bacteria into the water where the shrimp is growing to make the shrimp pure.
Yes, and pure water makes shrimp healthy and grows better and tasty. Yeah, and the water leaking from our pond makes around the environment very clean.
So everything around your ponds is becoming cleaner and
Yes.
better because of enzyme you're inserting and growing the
Yes.
shrimp.
Enzyme
So this is a great example of where your business
Yes.
provides what we call social impact
Yes.
to the around ecosystem.
Yes.
Growing the shrimp. Excellent, thank you.
Yes.
And it's interesting is practice of enzyme and the cleaning the water. Is that a new development in the industry, or is wide used around the world?
Yes, this enzyme is mainly used for the soil fertilization. I talked with farmers in Japan and Vietnam. At first, I not nothing to do with the shrimp. I was talked with the farming, and in Dalat, as you know, in the middle of the Vietnam, the soil so much fertilized by chemical.
Great.
So much insect, the line insect. What to say? I don't know. But the insect affect the flowers and so many crops, so they can't grow anymore.
Right, because the soil is dead.
Yeah, soil bad.
Soil is dead, yeah. And okay, Mr. Trien, so one of the critical things, this is my first visit to Asia, Vietnam, and as I travel through the country a little bit, you can see such a big change, environmental change between different regions. When I was next to the sea, it was very green, and as we moved to the lot, we went in the next excursion, you see the red soil, right? So how do you deal with the different environments in terms of the geography of Vietnam? How do you work with this? How do you create a policy for the country in order to have a sustainable development?
You see, the ecology of Vietnam is differ from region to region.
Yes,
Upland
very
and
big
lowland.
difference.
In case of upland, the erosion is very serious, and we try to protect the environment in upland by growing more forests to protect from runoff, to check the runoff. In case of lowland, mainly rice, we try to maintain the soil fertility, because you see the farmer grow 3 crop of rice. That's not good for a long term. And we now we encourage the farmer to grow upland crop like
So
looking
rotate the
in
crops.
rotation with
Rotation,
rice.
yes.
And also, in case of flood prone area, we allow the flood to come to the rice field, and the farmer grow the 2 crop of rice only per year. And now in local group, we follow the principle of sustainable rice platform that developed by United Nations Environment Program and the
So it's a
International
government
Rice Research
program-
Institute.
It's a government program nationwide.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And we follow 46 criteria, and we train the farmer to follow that sustainable criteria to grow rice for the maintain the environment, and also less emission of gas like methane in the rice field. Yeah, something
Thank you.
like that.
Well, it's important part was interesting. By the way, just administrative quick question. If anybody has a question or comments in the audience, please just point out to me, raise your hand, and we can stop at any time. There's no formal way. Just show me that you're looking for make a question or a comment, because we're going to move from subject to subject. Right now, we just finished the sustainability subject, so if you have questions on that, we can raise your hand as we move on, or jump in at any time. This is an open conversation. So, coming back to Mr. Trien, one of the things that obviously, as an academician in the area of agribusiness, do you use somewhat of a tech transfer from other countries that you can implement in Vietnam? So experiences of United States, of Ukraine, of Europe, of farming, of fish farming, Japan. Do you take the lessons from other countries to implement in Vietnam?
Yeah, we welcome the good experience from other country. New technology, new variety, new technology can be adopted to Vietnam. That's a good. But you see, Vietnam is a small-scale farming.
Yes, small
You
scale
see,
farming.
one farmer have a small piece of land, and they have their thinking, their own thinking, and how we try train and to change their mind, to convince them to adopt a new variety, new technology. That's very difficult.
Very
we
difficult.
should have a
We deal with the
cooperative.
same issue in
We should have a
Ukraine.
group of farmers to train them step by step, but not very fast. The
Well,
thing is, yeah.
It's a long process, because we're dealing with, and the way we actually approaching this in Ukraine, the same issue, is the small farmers, and we'll talk about the farmers, because farmers is so one of the lowest socioeconomic elements of the society globally, not just in a country like Ukraine or Vietnam. So one of the ways I'd like to talk about is creating a collaborative business model. So remember, the farming, historically we've been farming for your own family to produce so you can eat. Now farming is a very big business, very big business. And when you're dealing with the small farmers, farmers who have 1 hectare of land, right? How do you bring them into overall ecosystem of agro sector for the country? And what we have come up is an idea which has also been around for hundreds of years, is a collaborative community. So depending on the regions of the country, you know, somebody grows rice, somebody grows shrimp, somebody grows dragon fruit, right? We have to allow them to sell to the one body that gives them the best price, so they can focus on technology. And what we found in Ukraine is, because technology produces, but it's very hard, as you point out, for the small farmer to believe in it, to use it. But what we've done is to motivate them economically. If you use this, we're going to buy it from you at the X price. And I'd like you to, all of you, our panel and our guests, to address the collaborative business model And again, we're going to go in circle like this. Maybe, Mr. We'll switch it around. Let's start with you. Collaborative business model for Vietnam small farmers. What do you think about that?
Yes, we try. The government and also the company try to organize the farmer in group into cooperative. But the cooperative in Vietnam now still weak.
Why?
Not very weak, not very strong.
Why?
And
Is it a cultural thing?
you see, because you see, in the past, in the north of Vietnam, the cooperative is pushing compulsory.
Okay.
That is the failure of cooperative in the north of Vietnam. And the farmer, if somebody tell the farmer that cooperative, they hate that word.
They don't like
They
corporations.
don't like the cooperative anymore. But now in the world now, the farmers should cooperate together.
Right.
And we try to convince them cooperative is good, not bad. Bad is in the past. That's a compulsory is bad. But now voluntarily. Now
So
we
it's
try
a generational
to
change.
convince them the new cooperative. And
So it has to be a government policy, right?
Yeah.
So because from what I understand about culture of Vietnamese is they believe the government. Government is trusted. So the government, corporation, farmer. So it's going to be a sort of a circle. So how many years do you think will take in order for small farmer to become believer in a collaborative business model?
Fortunately, we have the new law of cooperative launched in 2012.
Okay,
That's a new law.
so the government already approved that?
Yes, yes. And now the farmer think about the new law. The new law. That's a voluntarily. But they find out some good thing, some benefit if joining the cooperative. And in the whole country, we have about 12,000 cooperatives.
12,000 cooperatives
12,000
already.
cooperatives work in agriculture, work very well. And that is the model to expand.
So they
to-
already provided an example of how well it can work.
Yes, it work. And many farmers now try to join the cooperative. And if they join cooperative, the company can sign a contract with cooperative to supply the input and also to buy the product from them. And they think that's a good to join with cooperative.
So
Yes.
do you see the future of Vietnam in a cooperative business model for the small farmers?
Yes.
So, okay, we'll come back to the energy part of that, but energy is very important for the farmer, the energy, electricity, and all type of energy. And one of the key components for that model is education. Does the government, as part of the program, provides education for the small farmer?
Yes, the government have many training courses for the farmer. But the main thing is the farmer, I visited many countries in Africa, and I realized that in Vietnam, the farmer is a good farmer. They try, they try to find out the new thing, the new variety, new technology, and try to adopt in their field. That's good. And also the government organize the training course. And the main thing is the farmer watch television, and they observe the neighboring field. And if some neighbor good technology, they learn from them.
Okay.
From
So
radio,
it's a-
from television, from neighbor, and they
It's a
develop
sharing the experience.
experience, and they develop.
Excellent. Thank you very
yes.
much.
Yeah.
So KJ, to our Japanese friends on this side of the table, and it's funny that we have Vietnam, Japan, and we have Ukraine here in the middle. So let's talk about as we just discussed collaborative business model. Shrimp industry, as I know it, and again I know very little about it, is also major collaborative model as well. How does it work, collaborative business model for shrimp farmers?
Yes, he has a good idea. He is living in Cambodia. He is Mitsunobu. He has one idea to collaboration of the small farmers or small family business to the collaboration with shrimp farm. Could you show us your idea of the shrimp?
Go ahead, join us. Talk. Turn your microphone on. Don't be shy.
In Cambodia, there are a lot of family business. and so like I think about Japanese convenience store model linked to shrimp farm. So in Cambodia there are many land. Then so in the 陸上養殖
Shrimp farming in land.
Shrimp farming in the land.
Smaller, yes. So you have somebody who's buying all the shrimp produce from the small farmers. So let me ask you from the business perspective, okay? So if you're able, your goal, you said you're producing 20,000 tons of shrimp a month today, and you're looking to get to 200,000 a month, which is a lot of shrimp, and I love shrimp. But at the same time, would there be an easier model for you to buy from the small farmers to reach your volume?
Yes, that is very big problem. To buy is more difficult to produce. To make money for small farming is so difficult.
Yes, but if you are a big buyer, you can give your technology that you're producing to the small farmer and guarantee them that you will buy whatever they will produce at a certain level of price. So wouldn't that make sense for you as a business to expand by creating a community around your know-how, your technology, your environmentally friendly ways, your organic production with a small farmer, because you make an impact to family, small family, but you also make a much larger impact on environment and overall quality of the produce of shrimp.
That is what he is thinking. And he is going to buy the guaranteed price or the high quality prawn, high quality shrimp would be sold very high price around the city.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I'm a businessman and I am, and I'm looking from the business model perspective, I think that makes much more sense for me to develop my own product, which you've done. We have a volume. I can demonstrate how good that shrimp is, and then come to the small farmer who produces the shrimp or other product and say, hey, look what I have, and I can buy it from you all the time. And makes it easier for you. You don't need to expand and put a lot of capital into it because everybody doing it. The major challenge we found is keeping quality control. That's the major challenge. And that's where education comes very important to make sure the quality is there. So, but Tomoko, back to you. Japan. Japan is obviously imports a lot of food. So how do you, again, coming back to the issue of collaborative, in Japan's case, I would assume, you have to collaborate not only internally within the Japan, domestically, but also externally. So you might be coming to Vietnam to buy and organize small farmers. How do you deal with it?
Oh, that's a bit difficult, yes. But on the other hand, we can make some branding for the valuable, like organic food or something. So at the same time, we have to educate the consumer side, like awareness raising, how the difference for the organically, method and for the healthy issue and also the environmental value. But yeah, it's when the big market, thinking big market, everybody think about how to make money at once. So some conflict, still there's some conflict, but depends on the maybe commodity or products, we can put some value like organic shrimp or good shrimp or organic chocolate or something, but it cannot be every product because we have to eat to survive everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a bit
Unfortunately.
difficult. But that's why ask the big company like IT company or any other industry company to help support as a CSR. It's not so much, investment for just the basement of organically way to.
So you're working with corporation, CSR, for those who don't know the term, is corporate sustainable responsibility. And so you're promoting this across Japan corporations in terms of in agro sector, the sustainability, CSR?
Yeah, but many company can do that. Like for example, the department store,
Yes.
convenience store. They need their own value of branding to corporate. If we can. Inform them that they are working for the environmental issue or something for the.
Well, it has to be part of the corporate culture. It has to be part of the corporate culture.
Corporate culture.
Sustainability is a big deal. So right now we talked about social impact and we're discussing different issues. But what I want to address next is organic part. We as the world are moving towards organic production. Today, organic food, generally speaking, is more expensive than non-organic food, which is interesting phenomenon. So how do we see the transition between organic to non-organic? I'm sorry, from non-organic to organic production?
I think during the 20th century, we must thank to the chemical to solve the hungry of the world population, because with the fertilizer, with the pesticide, the yield increase, and with the pesticide we can protect the crop from the insect and disease. We thank to that. But recently, is that some countries, some communities, some farmer misuse of chemical.
Right.
They misuse of chemical, and how to solve it? I think we should reduce the chemical into such a sustainable level, and we increase the organic product, either fertilizer or a pesticide, organic, to protect the crop. And we have a should balance between organic and inorganic. That's the best way. We cannot say that, no, now we eat only organic product. We don't eat any product grown from chemical fertilizer. We will starvation.
But you see, what I have worked with scientists in Ukraine, and I think that, in my opinion, again, I'm not an expert in agribusiness in terms of the technical component of it, there's a solution to that, is to create defense for the crops at the cell level. And then the nature comes in much easier, because if you re-engineer the cell against the particular insects, it allows you to have a full organic production, because organic production and organic certification today have to start from the cell all the way to the soil, to fertilizers you use, to how you package it, and so on. So idea behind this, that if the farmer gets the material to put in the ground, there is already has the protection built into it, he or she does not have to use the chemical fertilizers to protect. And remember, the chemical fertilizers, in my experience, are used not only to protect from insect, but also to grow more per hectare. And we are, again, as you pointed out, chasing the money. And we, in the short term, but in the long term, we lose a lot. So back to you guys. Again, how do we move from non-organic production to organic production? And obviously you're doing it with the shrimp, but please speak to that.
Yeah, very difficult question, because as you told, the insect is very big problem for crops. Not fish, but the crops. It is very big problem. So we have to make the natural killer of insect.
Correct.
Yes.
Again, the insect, for example, when we talk about fish, right? When we talk about, you see the chemicals in the water today everywhere, due to the improper, dumping into the rivers, into the seas, garbage, plastic, etc. So we see the changes in the aqua world as well, same as we see them on the land. And you're addressing this by creating your own closed-in farms, closed-in ecosystem, in order to produce food. So, do you see that going forward?
Talking about fertilization of the soil, it is possible to make everything non-chemical, I think.
Yes.
Yes. So we should work on and study about the bacteria more, and it will help the world.
Well, you found a way through enzyme to purify the water.
Yes.
Right? In order for that to not only spread towards your farm, but also spread around your farm. Right? So you're already creating a much greener ecosystem around your business.
Yes, yes, yes.
How can you scale that?
Yes, and I think it's possible, and I'd like to. I will ask later on after I success in the shrimp farm. I will tell whole the world using Polaris.
Okay. Well, I think that it's part of your business model, and the way I would look at that is that you already have a model that works. And you can publicize that now. Don't have to wait, because somebody in Vietnam can take your idea and use it in their farm tomorrow. And that's the idea. So coming back to you.
Yeah, I think I want to think about it. That's why we are here to make
yes.
that to reach any solution and the real achievement. We have the new technology for as a bacteria or information. We can make an open platform with the new technology, and we can use IT technology as
Correct.
well. Yeah, before, and when I started in the agroforestry in Africa, nobody used the mobile
Correct,
phone in the farmers area. But right now, any place we can access the internet very easily. So we can share the information as a
But
platform.
we not only can
education.
share, we can monitor. Right, the technology, and Tomoko, this is a great segue into the next subject of agro-tech. And today, using technology, we only can give the education and share the experiences and knowledge, but we also can monitor the production today. And do we see this happening in Vietnam yet? The technology coming into the agro space? For example, I'll give you a good example. One of the companies that I work with in Ukraine, they use satellite technology from space in order to monitor the crops on the ground. And what's interesting about that, not only it's a very non-invasive way, but it saves a lot of money for the company from simply walking the fields and checking the crop, right? That's on one hand, but more interesting enough, they look at the vegetation, and where they see the dry areas, they can immediately, literally, in the real time, point out where the areas of your field need some care in order not to lose the harvest coming in. So, question to you, Dr. Trien, is where is agro-tech in Vietnam?
Yeah, you see, there's many projects in Vietnam. They try to use informatic technology to help the farmer, to help the small-scale farmer to conduct with the new technology. For instance, in our local group, we have the project with the Netherlands. We call Set for Rice. It's been viewed the image from the satellite and also the information from the field.
Okay.
And we can have one click, and we know in the whole delta of the Mekong which person is sowing, which person is a vegetative state, which person is a milking state, which person is a ruminant state. And with that, the company, the manager can imagine the whole country, the province and the district, what happened in the field. And in each parcel, if we click into each parcel, all information about that farmer will appear. The size of the parcel, the name of the farmer, which variety, the dose of fertilizer used, and pesticide used, something like that. That's a good. I think we can try to expand that technology.
And how long ago did this program start in Vietnam? How long ago did the program started?
We start that project 3 years. This is third year. And we try to expand to the second phase.
Do you see positive results?
Yes, that's a good result. And many companies, many provinces try to adopt the result into their company.
The interesting part about that, because you can attach on the business side, you can attach the quality of the farming towards the price of purchase price. So you can motivate, coming back to the farmer, small farmer, you can motivate financially the farmer to do the right thing using the technology in order to get a better price, purchase price or selling price, if you're talking farmer. So I want to open up. Anybody has any questions or comments in the audience? Yes, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you.
Your name?
My name is Dhananjay. I operate a trading firm for pepper and cashew from Vietnam.
And we're not going to let you go. So pepper and cashew.
Pepper, cashew.
So very different businesses, right? But
different products, but different businesses.
Okay, different products, accepted. Do you import it out? Is it a local market?
No, it's a local market. It's procured locally and processed in my firm and exported. We do that for 2 commodities mainly, and trade in other commodities as well.
Okay, please. Thank you.
I just want to bring back to focus this organic and non-organic debate that we are having. I think we are missing the basic point as to why fertilizers and pesticides were earlier used. It is not an indigenous practice, right? It was brought in from somewhere for use in another country. And now suddenly the very countries that produce these chemicals and fertilizers are stopping countries that produce these products from coming back in. For example, the US FDA is bringing in norms to stop production of, import of pesticide, residue pepper, cashew, etc. Whereas the largest producer of fertilizers and pesticide is the USA. The EU has stopped import of pesticide pepper. Now, it brings the farmer to a question mark, because his yield is not as high with non-pesticide pepper, and he's not getting that price. And if you're looking for a buyer who will pay higher for organic pepper, you're not finding that either. So the farmer is in a flux.
Basically, the farmer is squeezed.
Yeah, the farmer is squeezed.
So it's a very interesting, thank you for bringing it up. It's a very interesting subject because we're talking about government regulation protecting their own business and their own people in a way. At the same time, not allowing them getting a higher price because market demands the lower price. So how do you deal with that? Is that the correct way of phrasing what your question is?
In a broad way, that is the basics economics of it. How do you
overcome that?
Overcome that. Right?
Great question. So anybody want to take it?
I think the union should be needed for the cashew nuts or peppers, or some products should have the 1 union or 2 union for selling, that keeping the prices and not squeezing the farmers.
Well, I think that, in my opinion, the way I would approach the problem on a global level, it's fascinating to me, a person who lived in many different countries. We all people, right? We all eat. Why can't we have a global standards that reduces the import quotas and all that? Americans are very much protecting their farmers and the farm business. In many other countries do the same, because obviously it is a strategically vital part of any country because they got to feed their people. At the same time, we Americans eat a lot of cashew. They use a lot of pepper. So why can't we have it if the market price is better and the quality is better in Vietnam? Why shouldn't we have it? And the protectionism, as we see now, is the problem. My opinion, in a way, I can't solve that problem, but the way to overcome that is to continuously, as an entrepreneur myself, I would continuously look into the distribution channels of different countries that already have established network within the country. In my experience, many entrepreneurs trying to go into the new market are doing it on their own instead of having a strategic partnership with people who understand the regulations of the particular market. And yes, you might not get the best price, but as the volume increases, your cost basis should go down. And as you use technology, your cost basis should go down. But in order for that to happen, you need to have a strong strategic partner in the market, like in America, for example. So, but let me address that with you. Obviously, remember, this is not it is a great comment and a great question, because this is not unique for American farmer, Vietnamese farmer, or Ukrainian farmer. If you look at what is going on right now between United States and China, soybean production, right, in United States. China was the largest importer of soybeans out of United States. It is a mess now because the farmers are being hurt.
I'm sorry, but that is a trade war.
Agreed. Governments get involved and the farmers get hurt.
Right. Farmers get hurt any which ways. I'm talking about policies developed post a certain period. For example, Vietnam took up, I know of pepper, so I'll talk of pepper. Vietnam took up pepper production in the early 2000s or late 1990s and brought in practices that were encouraged at that time. Now you are used to a certain type of production, even rice, for example. And suddenly the rules of the game change, right?
But this is, I have to argue with you, because one of the things we as humans today, biggest challenge we face is the speed of change. How things change so fast, right? When this iPhone came out, all other phones, Nokia, they became irrelevant, right? So it's gonna change all the time. Part of what I teach when I do teach is how do we adapt. I teach my kids adoption. We have to be fast in adapting to the new environments. But again, the subject matter is very complex because it involves government, involves coal production. Practices that were working in the 90s do not work now for many different reasons, okay? And in my opinion, again, just my opinion, we have to look at the global standards that allows us the food to move around freely. We're talking about free trade zone. We're talking about free visas. We're talking about why not free, choice of free trade on the agro sector, and then compete on quality. That would be the primary target. But thank you very much for the question. Let me move to you. You had a comment and question.
Good morning. I'm Arup Gupta of Phoenix Global. We are an agribusiness company, and I've had the privilege of working with Dr. Trien and also a company with Lopchai Group, so we are very thankful for that.
And where are you from?
From Vietnam. I'm based here in Vietnam. We are one of the largest rice companies in the world, so we have a lot of engagement of rice business here in Vietnam. I just wanted to make a comment to what Dr. Trien was already mentioning to you and your particular question about technology. So as Dr. Trien mentioned that VNSAT is one of the projects that they were working on. But I think it has also, bringing in technology is good, but I think what it has also come to a point that this project is coming to an end. And one of the reasons why it probably cannot be taken up because it's not being scaled up. So I think we need to have a lot of government policies and private partnerships in bringing these projects into fruitful justification for the cost and the benefit and the analysis. So I think the reason why all this technology is available, but the reason why it's not taking shape is because we have not really tried to figure out how to optimize it, how to economize it, and how to take it up in a larger context.
Absolutely. And the Phoenix, are you an investor? Are you a strategic? Are you a trader? What is the core business?
We do right from procurement to manufacturing to international trade. Yeah.
Okay, so it's a full supply chain in a way.
Full supply chain.
So this is exactly what I wanted to address because from different statistics talk about different numbers, but somewhere between 50 to 75, 80% of the cost of food is in logistics. Everything from shipping it to packaging it to, all that stuff. So your company, and you sell, I'm assuming you sell globally the products, yes? How do you deal with logistics in order to reduce the cost? How do you deal with the question that was raised before, the different regulations in different markets for rice, for example?
I think.
Can you turn the microphone on, please?
My Dhananjay.
Dhananjay, sorry.
Yeah.
Here you go.
I think what Dhananjay was mentioning was quite pertinent. It all depends, actually, if I could add to what you were saying, it depends on the priorities of the country, the priorities of the commodity that you're dealing in. For example, it's very fine for, say, very developed countries to say they need organic, they need pesticide-free, whereas in Asia, I think the most important part is actually lifting people out of poverty, getting the small holders back into the business, for which you need your production, you need your yield, you need a certain amount of the crop that should come out in a year. So I think basis that the government have their own policies on how to prioritize. But that said, it doesn't mean that we should shun away the responsibilities of making an impact and making it socially viable, which I think is happening in Vietnam. Like Lokchoy Group is parallelly engaged both in the input part of the business, on fertilizers, and also they are one of the 2 SRP members in Vietnam, along with Ministry of Agriculture and Development. Lokchoy is the second company which is engaged here. So they have people, they have the network of Farmers Friend, where they engage the smallholders into the business, where they educate them, where they impart them with the right knowledge and technology, and then bring them back into the ecosystem where they become the consumers, and they are also a part of the entire circle. So I think it has to have a 2-pronged approach, and that is what we try to do globally as well, not just in Vietnam. Depending on the country that we are engaged in, try to match the solution.
This is an excellent point, because as I said, we're all humans, right? We all eat, right? It's one ecosystem. So as you addressed lifting people out of poverty, that's huge, right? Because those people become consumers. Yesterday, in the major the plenary, we talked about that Asia will represent almost 3 billion middle-class individuals. 3 billion, right? So if you are raising people out of poverty, they become your consumers. They become global consumers in a way. So therefore, coming back to what I said, we're talking extremely complex subject matters, where the food safety, food security is critical. Corporate CSR, huge. I work with countries in the Middle East. Now, they have a very different problem. They don't have fertile soils. They don't have much rain. How do you use technology to produce on the sand, right? How do you make the sand productive? And so the challenge that we are having is that many countries and many regions in the world approaching it in a very different way, from regulation point of view, from their income point of view, from packaging point of view, from chemicals point of view in this case. So in my opinion, this is what Horasis, in my opinion, is all about, is bringing those global views. And we have people sitting in this room from very different countries, different, education levels, different environments. What can we do, Dr. Trien, to create a one system for agro sector around the world?
I think we should have the common thinking about our agricultural product. We should have a safety product for consumer all around the world, either produced in Vietnam, in China, or in India. But we should either organic or inorganic product, but we should have the principle that food should be safe for the human being.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we should think about that. Either producer or consumer, the product should be safe. It means the contaminant in the product should be lower than maximum residue limit.
Right, but different countries, different countries have different regulations in terms. Very interesting subject, labeling, and we'll come back to Tomoko, to you. Labeling, right? I speak 3 languages. I come to Vietnam. I go to the store, and I don't understand anything. I don't understand what I'm buying. I don't understand what it tastes like. I don't understand what ingredients are there. So maybe the easiest first step would be to create a common labeling around the world. In America, labels require you to show this, this, and this. In Ukraine, it's very different. In Vietnam, I'm sure different as well. So we have to have like in any business, when you're starting a business, you have to start the first block. Where do you start? Everybody eats, every country produces some sort of agro product that we consume. Maybe, Tomoko, you can address, maybe we can start with labels that are universal, that we can use technology to scan in Vietnamese and I have an answer in English or Russian or Ukrainian or whatever other language I want to use.
Yeah, I think it's possible to make some kind of platform with technology. We can translate easily right now with QR code or something.
Exactly.
Yes, we can use any language into the QR code, the translation automatically. And for example, some ingredient, we can put the QR code and to read in their own language.
For example, some of the food here I can be allergic to, right? So, and I don't know that. But by the way, any entrepreneur, you KJ, you be in the IT sector, right? Yeah. Any entrepreneurs want to take that challenge, creating an
application.
An app
now
for the phone.
Now we are starting at our one products we are selling at the ANA airport that have a QR code. Everybody can read the QR code to read their own language as what the ingredient come. It's not so in detail, but just starting like that, so we can continue this kind of technology for the
It's interesting you talk about QR code. I just got printed my new business cards, and it has a QR code. But we don't have a QR code on the label of this bottle, right? I mean, where's our priorities?
Actually, this is what when you engage in the SRP businesses. So this is traceability is what is important. I think consumers.
Can you speak closer to the mic?
Traceability is what is important, and as people and consumers all over the world, they want to know where your product is coming from, whether it has gone through X, Y, Z.
It is a global need, yes.
So I think when you so there is an organization called SRP. I'm talking about rice, but I'm sure there could be for something else as well. If you do that, then you also have to provide, like she said, about QR code. And then QR code, and in China they have another code very similar to a QR code. So that can be sort of streamlined. But if you mention about the packaging per se, I think that will be a challenge, because I think that is a unique characteristic of every brand, every company. So they want to stand out. So I think to customize that would be a bit difficult. But then with your traceabilities and the QR codes coming, that's making things much, much easier nowadays.
Of course it is. I don't have a solution for that, but we cannot. This is a relatively simple problem to solve compared to nanotechnology or blockchain or space. So, and this is something we use every day. There's a lady next to you had a comment. Yes.
Hello, I'm from Toyumov University. I'm a lecturer of the research center of the university. So from now, before this meeting, I have a lot of questions about the agriculture in Asia and how to overcome the problem from the big company, because we all know that many farmers in Vietnam own small farmers. And very hard to maintain a large area of production for import or even for internal consumers. And with your answer, I collect a lot of good information. And also, when I come to the meeting, I also want to collect the information about the problems. As a scientist from university, we can connect and we can help transferring the new technology because we are the people that absorb the high technology very quickly. And we had a method, the people to help the small farmer to adapt the technology that to make the product meet the requirement of the big company enough for the export, for the global standard.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I have a question. How all the company connect with the research center from the university until now? Currently, we have the farmers in producing the medicinal mushroom in South Vietnam. For example, we collect the information of requirement from company, and we give that information to the farmer. We help them how to grow the good mushroom, to make the technique and how to make the quality. And then the farmer can have good product and supply
right,
for
so
the company.
you have developed a program
Yeah.
that allows a small farmer to become better,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
So this is what I love about harasses and panels like this. Here, somebody next to you is in the business of doing exactly that. Dr. Trien here is also a person who works with the government of Vietnam to push the program in. So what's interesting about this is after the panel, three of you should talk. And tomorrow, you should start a small beta test of how to implement it on small farmers. You can bring some of your technology and know-how to KJ and his farming, shrimp farming. Gentleman from Cambodia, right? Cambodia, right, you said? Yes. So in Cambodia, he's already working in collaborative community, small farmers in the aqua sector, the seafood, right? So there's opportunities to immediately implement. What's interesting to me, because I work with a lot of scientists in Ukraine, and a lot of scientists are very protective of their ideas. Oh, we need to get intellectual property rights protected, all that stuff. My message is very simple. Things change so fast today. There's no reason to spend money, time of protecting your technology. The best protection you have is the market acceptance. So when you as a scientist create the innovation, right? This is what your business is in, creating new ways of doing things better. The most important thing you need to do is to go to real people in real business. Hey, go try it. See how that works. And then if it does work, then you have to have people sitting next to you who can scale that. Right? So that's the best protection you can get. And that's exactly what harasses. And thank you very much for the comment. So I'm sorry, somebody else, did you have a comment you wanted to make?
No, I just wanted to add to the traceability.
Sure.
Just to put it out there, a couple of months ago, I heard a presentation from the ITC group, which is an Indian group of conglomerate for consumer goods. And they are in developing a software technology that can trace it to the farm to which that particular good is from. For example, a packet of cumin, which is 50 grams, right? And you scan a code and you trace it back to the farm and the farmer or whatever to which, from which that has grown from.
Absolutely.
I don't know how it's come out of the market yet or not, but this was their proposal.
Right, but in Ukraine we have a product already that traces back to the cell.
Okay, cellular reconstruction is a completely different thing.
I know, but the point is on the cell level, if you re-engineer the cell, right, and you start pushing it out to the marketplace, in Ukraine, the scientists did the testing. They tracked the cells in the different farmers. Right. And what happens was different farmers were using different methods of growing, including fertilizers and all other stuff, and they saw the huge difference in different productions. So traceability is key to everything today. And we talk about digitization of the economy. This is a great example of digitization of the agro sector all the way down to the cell, because through DNA, of the cell, you can now trace it all the way down to me as a consumer eating it. So eventually, if I get poisoned because I have allergy, we can trace it back not only with the country or the farmer, but actually where the seed was produced in a way, right? If you take a company like Monsanto, right, a very large conglomerate that pushes out chemically fertilizers, they also starting to change. Notice who had acquired Monsanto. Anybody knows? Bayer. Exactly. What is Bayer in the business of? Seeds. No, Bayer in the business is pharmaceutical business, right? Monsanto is in this. So think about strategically, why is Bayer a global pharmaceutical conglomerate that's been around for what, 150, I think, years or so, right? Why are they acquiring Monsanto? Anybody has an idea? Why is Bayer, pharmaceutical conglomerate, acquiring Monsanto? By the way, they paid $23 billion or something, like a crazy number, for the company. Why did Monsanto acquire a company that provides test satellite technology? And the reason Bayer strategy is very simple. Bayer pharmaceutical sustains our life through, again, in this case, chemicals, by giving us drugs that makes us feel better. At least that's the perception, right? The reason Bayer had, at least that's what they said, and I agree with that, they wanted to go into the production of food as part of the health solution to humanity. Interesting, isn't it? So you start seeing convergence not only of sciences and technologies, but also you start seeing convergence on the corporate level that goes down all the way down to the cell level and the R&D on the science of that.
Right. I just to put it out on the floor, and I would like your comments on it. The corporatization of seeds versus the indigenous seeds that you have. I mean, are we moving to a culture where seeds are now going to be scientifically modified and coming from Europe, whereas seeds that have been traditionally passed on from generation to generation for thousands of years in India are lost forever? We are actually making a seed bank in India for rice, I believe, and which are hundreds of years old.
Sure.
And now you're talking about genetically modifying seeds, right? Where is that headed?
Well,
do we lose indigenous growing techniques to the new ones?
The answer again comes back to me, the adoption, right? We as humans, the reason we're still here and dinosaurs not, because we were able to adapt. Charles Darwin pointed that out, right? It's not the strength, it's not the speed and so on, it's about if we're able to adapt. So think about the economy of this, right? In early 1900s, I think in US, over 40% were farmers. Today, almost about 1% because of technology. This is part of the technological evolution. In my view, it's irreversible. We can fight against it, or we can embrace it. So when we talk about Bayer acquiring Monsanto, our job on the government level, individual level, is to push for it to be organic. And if we modify the seed that is protected from pesticides, that is protected from chemicals, use of chemicals, is it better for us as humans? We're gonna have a 7 billion population very soon. How do we feed them? We cannot use old technology, doesn't matter if it's India or anywhere else, to feed the world today. We have to adapt. Anybody else?
But research has shown that the traditional organic way of growing crops can feed the world.
No question about it. But if you have to add to this logistics, if you grow something in India, how am I going to eat this in Ukraine or America? So the answer is organic is the way to go. But what do we define as organic? Organic, we define non-use of chemicals.
Exactly. I'm sorry to...
No, sure.
Who sets these rules? That's my first question, right? Somebody's setting these rules.
I think the government, any government, is always a laggard. They're always behind. And now you see the trend that the rules are being set up, the protectionist rules are protecting industries that are about to die. And that's historically been happening from auto industry to technology and all those different things. So the question is, if we are engineering, use that word, at the cell level, but it's organic process that allows the crop to grow organically, we are solving that problem. And then we're using technology as a tracking to make sure that we understand what is being put into it. Think about blockchain technology. And I spent a year learning about it. Blockchain technology for agro sector is a gold mine, right? So from every aspect, from logistics to the cell development, because everything is open. You can make it publicly available. So the question, let's Dr. Trien address that. You know, the organic way can sustain the world of ever larger population. Right? What do you think?
Many publication is a contradiction. Some publication said that if we go all organic, we cannot feed the world. Only 50%. And some recent publication said that they can. If all the farmers grow organic, the world population will survive. I don't know the statistic of the data.
I have a project I'm working on right now out of Ukraine, technology project. It actually applies to, you know, think about shrimp, right? Shrimp used to be only in nature. You can find only in nature. Now there's a shrimp farm, and now they can produce so much more organically. Are you doing it organically?
Yeah.
Yes.
Not more than organic. Thank you.
More than organic, even more than organic, right? Super organic, let's call it that way, right? That's the new motto for you, super organic shrimp, right? So the idea behind this, the company uses the shipping containers, and they do many different levels, shelves within the container. They produces hydroponics. They produces several harvests, literally, organically, a year. Now, what is the business model I'm working with them on? The business model that I can have the shipping container on the back of my house and constantly grow food that I like myself. So when the scientists, as our guests, come out with a new technology, I can get it from that and put it in my backyard and try it out. If I want to try organic shrimp or I want to try organic, I don't know, dragon fruit, the technology allows us to do it in our backyard. Think about supermarket. Think about the price, the cost of this. Remember, the agribusiness is such an ecosystem, everything from logistics to economies to costs and farmers and so on. But what if I can produce the food to feed myself and I can do what I want? I don't have to go to supermarket to get fresh food anymore, right? Right? Think about, Tomoko, how does it affect the healthcare? Remember, healthcare is a big part of this. If we eat crap, if we eat bad, we go to the hospital, right?
Yes. I think when we think about the health issue by myself, I don't want to. It depends on the choice of the people. Everybody can have a choice. If someone wants to choose at a very low price and even effective health is okay, it's okay for their choice. But most of people is thinking about the healthy food, and they have a right to choose. Sure. So the most important thing is how to, transparency, any information, because it's food. Yeah, I think so. So, but if we, to think about very, very strict regulation, the standard, when we don't have any choice, it's future will be happen something problem. So I think we have always we need some capacity to alternative choice.
Choice is always, remember, but sometimes there's studies done as well where there's too much choice, right? When you come to a supermarket and you see, 30 different types of drinks, what do you choose? Snacks or whatever, right? There was the Ukraine has a major corruption problem, and one company I was working, supermarket company, they carried 150 labels of pasta. And the reason was, as I dug down to the diligence, is because the buyer for the supermarket was getting bribed from the producers of the pasta. And that's why you see so much pasta in the shelves. So, first of all, fascinating subject. And I'd like to have our esteemed panel, but before I go, I want to ask our global businessman a question. That's you. And I'm looking to answer the question as follows. Why can't we have global rules for agribusiness that are unified? In your opinion?
Right now, the way the world is, we can't have global rules for trade, let alone agribusiness.
True. Well, I think, first of all, I mean, whatever you feel of President Trump, his personality or policy, I think the world of tariffs is almost gone.
That is precisely the point. So I think every country, and now increasingly everybody is looking more inwards. So however, for the last decade or so, I think we were progressing towards what you want to achieve. But the way things are right now, we'll have to wait and see whether I'm optimistic. I am firm believer
I'm optimistic about that as well.
Things will actually settle down, the dust will settle down, and then things will be back to normal, and trying to break the trade barriers and the walls that we have suddenly started to build around, but eventually would be. But I think the key would be that I think one has to recognize firstly the resurgence of other economies, especially Asia. I think so I think that the developed nations will have to take into account, and then accordingly make institutions stronger, regulations stronger, policies stronger to include everybody. It has to be all inclusive. So well,
I think that same as with toothpaste, when you push out the toothpaste out of the tube, you can't put it back in. So technology, we can't put the technology back into the bottle, right? And therefore the technology is the driver of that transformation, because if before we were so far away from each other, Vietnam from United States or Ukraine, today we're so much closer due to technology, due to our ability to share knowledge, new innovations, experiences, markets. So great panel. I'm so happy for the discussion because it's such a critical discussion for humanity. And I'd like our esteemed panelists to last word. And we're going to start with our lady on the panel. Tamoga, your last words for the panel.
Thank you very much. Very grateful to participate this meeting, and I'd like to keep in touch all of you. Sure. If you're interested in whether any open discussion continues.
Thank you, KJ.
Thank you very much for having this happy time. I'd like to say talk. Last word is, this word is not human word, but the bacteria world.
You see, one of the things bacteria needs to do is rebranding. The word bacteria has such a negative connotation. We have to name something else, but it's critical for our life, yes. So.
Thank you very much. We have to rename the bacteria. Next time, we should think about that.
Yes, that's going to be a whole different section for the Horasis meeting next time.
Thank you.
Dr. Trien.
Yes, I think that's a good conference, because the interaction between the scientists and the people, the businessmen around Asia and in the world, that this is a good opportunity for all of us to learn from foreign scientists, foreign businessmen to come here. That's good for Vietnamese people, good for us.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I want to thank everybody, because today we have to realize government, business, corporations, people, farmers, okay, science, we all in the same boat, and we all have to eat and eat good in order to reduce the healthcare costs. And I want to thank everybody, all the guests, and I also want to extend an invitation to all of you sitting in this room to Kyiv, Ukraine, June 23rd, 24th, and 25th, where we're going to have Horasis India meeting in this next summer. So you're welcome, and we're going to have a lot of agro business there. And part of what we're doing with the Harasses is creating what we call social and economic impact day, where you can actually see new science, technology,